A 21-year-old woman with a heart condition is dead after consuming a heavily caffeinated energy drink from Panera Bread. She believed it to be just regular lemonade, but her parents are now suing for a wrongful death against the restaurant chain.
Panera is now displaying a warning about its caffeinated lemonade. So this comes after a lawsuit was filed by the family of a young woman.
21-year-old Sarah Katz died after consuming the drink because it has more caffeine than 3 cans of Red Bull.
Panera at the center of a wrongful death lawsuit over a caffeinated drink.
In September of 2022, after drinking Panera's charged lemonade, Sarah Katz experienced cardiac arrest while at the restaurant with friends and died after being transported to the hospital and suffering a second cardiac arrest. Katz's parents are seeking compensatory and punitive damages. The autopsy obtained by the medical examiner cites Katz's cause of death as cardiac arrhythmia due to long QT syndrome. Long QT syndrome is a disorder that can cause fast and irregular heartbeats, and the irregular heartbeats can be life-threatening. Here's my concern. Katz was diagnosed with long QT syndrome when she was 5 years old, and one of the most well-known management tips for long QT syndrome is to take your medications and limit caffeine. Most energy drinks have large amounts of caffeine and added sugars and vitamins such as B vitamins, as well as other legal stimulants. Panera's charged lemonade not only contains 390 milligrams of caffeine in the large, it also contains 98 grams of sugar. This is the equivalent of half a cup of sugar. This not only increases the risk to people who have long QT syndrome, but it also is a risky beverage for anyone who has diabetes or hyperinsulinemia or PCOS, and levels of caffeine and sugar this high can also lead to dehydration, irregular heartbeat, and heart failure. So the question is, was Panera clear enough in their marketing and communications to tip off the very intelligent Ivy League student Sarah Katz that this lemonade was not just an average lemonade, but was a highly caffeinated version of lemonade? The lawsuit maintains that the marketing is not clear enough. Panera's website says that this is a naturally flavored, plant-based, and clean with about as much caffeine as our dark roast coffee. We also know that it has multiple flavors, tons of caffeine added, as well as coffee extract, guarana extract, and flavorings in the lemonade. So will the case be found that Panera failed in its communication to convey the fact that this was a highly caffeinated beverage? Or is the comparison to dark roast coffee simply vague and unhelpful? It is known that the Food and Drug Administration says that the safe quantity of caffeine to be consumed on a daily basis is about 400 milligrams. This is approximately 4 to 5 cups of coffee. We also know that the charged lemonade is actually mixed in-house by store employees, meaning that the caffeine concentration is not necessarily as controlled as it would be if it were delivered to the restaurant in its final form. We know that Katz drank out of the large size cup. It's not possible to know how much she drank, but wouldn't it be better to simply warn people in advance that they are consuming an energy drink, because this is not how the charged lemonades are marketed. It is simply stated that this is a naturally flavored, plant-based, and clean drink with as much caffeine as our dark roast coffee. Unless you read the fine details, you would not know that you would be consuming what the FDA considers to be right at the maximum tolerable limit of daily caffeine intake in one glass of lemonade. Let's be more careful. And if you are someone who has ever been diagnosed with long QT syndrome, or if you are on medications that increase your QT interval, it is clearly important for you to have the empowerment to ask better questions about whether or not a beverage contains excessive amounts of caffeine. Another thing that makes this case even more complicated is that if you look at caffeinated beverages that are sold in their own cans, the caffeine amount will be disclosed on the label. The Panera charged lemonade comes in a branded Panera cup that does not contain any details about what is actually in the drink. We'll have to follow along with the case to see what comes of this, but I encourage each of you, let's learn from this and ask better questions, especially if you have a heart condition. Please always remember that caffeine can be a big enemy.